everyone, I wanted to do a video today on risk when we're trading. And part of this is the technical part, the trading part of risk, which isn't really what I want to talk about, but I want to talk about just a little bit to set it up. And then the other part of that that is really important that I wanted to touch on today is the psychology of risk, one thing in particular. So let's just start by talking about risk management, how you manage your trade, what you have in your trading plan as far like getting really clear about this is what my risk looks like. So let's do a really easy example just to lay the groundwork for this. So let's say that when you take a trade, your goal is to get a 2-to-1 reward to risk. So for every, let's say, $100 that you're going to win, if the trade goes in your favor and you get out where you say you're going to get out, you would lose $50 if the trade goes in the other way and you get stopped out. So you got a 2-to-1 reward to risk, $100 to $50, or it could be 200 to 100, whatever, you get the point. So number one is, are you clear what your risk is per trade, per day? Is it in writing? Are you honoring that? Okay, so this is very, very basic and wants to be in your trading plan, and you want to be really clear about it. The part that I wanted to talk about today, and this has come up in some discussions with traders lately, and I've certainly experienced this a lot in working with people, is that you can say, well, first of all, let's back up just for a second. I see a lot of people, when I start working with them, I'll ask them for their trading plan or their strategy in writing so I can see what they're up to. And several traders will have a 1-to-1 risk to reward to risk, however you want to say it, which doesn't really work very well. You don't want to lose as much as you make unless you have an 80 or 90% win ratio and you're winning your trades a lot of the time. A 1-to-1 risk reward is not going to get you very far. Does that make sense? So you really want it to be a 2-to-1 or a 3-to-1 or even a 5-to-1 if you can manage that. So that's the first part. The second part is when I start discussing this with people, and a lot of times they haven't thought about it. They may say, oh yeah, my risk is 2-to-1 or 1-to-1, but they haven't actually figured out what that looks like on paper per trade. So if I take this particular trade and I get in here, I'm going to get out here. I'm going to, when I hit my profits, or I'm going to scale out, or whatever that looks like for you. And if I get stopped out, it's going to be here. So there's a lot of times when they're not clear about that. Here's the part I want to get to. If you have your trading plan, or in your mind you have a 2-to-1 reward to risk, and here's the part I really want you to think about. Are you prepared to take that risk? If the risk is, let's say, what I was using before, $100 profit or $50 getting stopped out and losing the $50, have you asked yourself on this trade, yes, I'm okay if I lose that $50? Because what happens, and I've seen this a lot, which is why I wanted to talk about it, what happens is people in their mind will just think, well, I'm not going to lose, or this trade, it looks too good, it's a great setup, so I'm probably not going to lose. And in their mind, it's not really a possibility. And so they're taking a trade with a risk of $50 or $500 or $5,000, whatever it is, but they're not actually willing to take that risk. And they're not open to the possibility that that trade is actually going to go against them. Or they'll get out sooner and they'll take half the risk. So this is a huge problem, because if you're not clear on the risk, number one, okay with the risk, number two, and prepared to take it, then people start, when they get to that minus 50 and it's going against them, they may move their stop, they may double down, they may start doing other things to get out of this problem that they've created. because they weren't clear right up front what their risk was. This is a very simple concept, yes, although a lot of people don't use it or pay attention to it. And like I said, the part that I really want you to think about is with my own trades, am I actually clear and am I okay with that risk up front? There's all sorts of psychological implications, such as if I lose this trade and I lose my $50, I'm a loser, and that triggers a whole bunch of psychological trauma for some people. Back in high school, being called a loser. I mean, there's all sorts of ways that can trigger you, and now you're into an unconscious reaction in the market, and you can lose control of yourself and what the actions that you're taking in the market, if that makes sense. So just get clear and be okay with it. If you're not okay with the risk, take a smaller risk, trade a smaller size, go onto the simulator, get out a journal and start writing about, what am I afraid of here? What is the resistance that I have to taking this risk? Because I can see in my trading plan, because you've written it all out in a plan, right? If you haven't watched my videos on trading plans, if you have it written out in a trading plan, then you can see over time, yes, I expect that I'm going to have losses. Maybe I have a 60% win rate and a 40% lose rate. 40% of the time, this trade is going to go against me. I'm going to take a loss. It's part of doing business as a trader. But if we're not okay with a loss, if we're not willing to take a loss, then stop trading and deal with that. It's a big psychological challenge. It's one of the biggest challenges, I think, for a trader. And you may be aware of it. This may not be an issue that you face. It may be an issue that you face that you just haven't thought a lot about. If you have comments or you want to share your experience, you can do that below. And if you have other questions you want me to talk about, put that in the comments as well. Thanks for listening.